Welcome to the deep dive. This week, you, the learner, have given us a pretty fascinating and, I have to say, a challenging set of sources excerpts from the famously controversial Manual of Strategy, the 48 Laws of Power.
It's a deep dive that really forces us to look beyond our usual ideas of morality. We're getting into the naked mechanics of human ambition.
Right. Ruthless, strategic behavior that's been distilled from, what, 3,000 years of history?
Exactly. All of it focused on one thing, gaining and maintaining authority.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to cut through some of that notoriety and really distill the most potent, maybe the most surprising insights for you. We've organized this around three core themes.
First, controlling perception.
Then managing strategic relationships.
And finally, mastering action and timing.
Okay, so the foundation for all of this, it feels like a kind of brutal realism.
It is. These laws operate on the principle that, well, the pursuit of power often demands calculated self-interest above everything else. It's rooted in thinkers like Machiavelli. He famously said, "A prince must be willing to learn how not to be good and use that knowledge as necessity requires."
That sets a very clear, if maybe a chilling, tone. We are talking about the calculus of control. So let's just jump right in with theme one. Controlling your image or the appearance of power. And this starts right at the top with Law 1, never outshine the master.
And this is probably the hardest law for any truly ambitious person to follow. The idea isn't to hide your talent completely.
No.
No. It's about managing the emotional impact of your talent on your superior. You always have to make them feel comfortably superior.
So it's a defensive move, really, a defense against their envy. Because if you show your talents too much, too aggressively,
You inspire fear. You inspire insecurity in the person who holds the ultimate power over you.
and there's a tragic example of this with Nicolas Fouquet, the finance minister for the young king Louis XIV.
Yes, a perfect illustration. Fouquet threw this unbelievably extravagant party for the king, and he thought he was showing his loyalty, his value to the crown.
But it just completely backfired. The scale of it was just too much.
It was the fireworks, the food, the sheer wealth on display. Every compliment that went to Fouquet was like a small cut to Louis's ego. The king realized his own court was more impressed by his minister than by him.
So Fouquet's talent just became a threat, a symbol of a potential rival.
It inspired a deep, profound fear in the king. Shortly after, Louis found an excuse, accused Fouquet of embezzlement, and had him jailed for the rest of his life.
Wow. So the lesson isn't just don't flaunt wealth.
No, it's don't confuse being indispensable with being intimidating.
Okay, let's contrast that then with the success of Galileo.
Galileo provides the master class here. He was a brilliant scientist, but instead of just shouting about his discoveries, he made them useful to his patrons, the Medicis.
How so?
When he saw the moons of Jupiter in 1610, he didn't just announce a scientific fact. He named them the Medicean stars.
Ah, that's clever. So he tied the Medici name directly to the cosmos.
He made his patrons seem more brilliant, more important. He wasn't outshining them, he was making them shine. And that secured his position as the court philosopher.
But that balance is incredibly delicate. The sources also warn us about Sen-no Rikyu, the tea master for the Emperor Hideyoshi.
Right, Rikyu's status was, sky high. He was the emperor's favorite.
And he got a little too comfortable with it, didn't he?
He did. He commissioned a wooden statue of himself, wearing noble sandals no less, and had it put inside the most important temple.
And to the emperor, that was the ultimate sin.
It was a total transgression. It implied that Rikyu believed he'd earned his position through his own merit, and he forgot that his status depended entirely on the emperor's favor.
What happened?
He was ordered to take his own life, all for that one unforgivable presumption.
Okay, that is a profound lesson. Now let's pivot, because once you are established, once you're the master, the strategy just completely reverses. Law 1 says be obscure, but Law 6 demands you court attention at all cost.
Exactly. If you're not a subordinate, obscurity is a huge risk. What is unseen counts for nothing. You have to be seen. You have to create spectacle.
And P.T. Barnum was the grand master of this. He just understood that attention is a resource you can manufacture.
His methods were amazing. He didn't wait for people to be curious. He engineered it. He hired a man to just lay bricks on a street corner where nothing was being built.
Just to draw a crowd?
Yes. A crowd gathered, and once he had that critical mass, he'd usher them all into his museum. A crowd is a magnet for more attention.
Or you look at someone like Mata Hari. She didn't just rely on her talent. She built a whole mythology around herself.
She was constantly changing her story. One day a Javanese princess, the next a Hindu dancer. She kept the public and the journalists totally captivated by this endless mystery.
She made herself a living spectacle. She knew that being predictable or transparent just makes you fade away.
And you see this play out viciously in rivalries. Think about Thomas Edison versus Nikola Tesla.
Right. Tesla was arguably the more brilliant inventor.
But he was completely overshadowed by Edison, who was a master of, well, theatrics and media hype. He understood spectacle. He even refused to share a Nobel Prize with Tesla,
Just to deny him the attention.
just to keep his rival out of the limelight. Edison mastered conspicuousness as an act of power.
Which brings us to Law 30. Make your accomplishments seem effortless. The sources use that Italian term, sprezzatura. Why is hiding the effort so important?
Because the appearance of true genius, it needs a little bit of the divine, something innate. If you show all the toil, the practice, the agonizing hours,
He raises questions.
it raises questions, and worse, it generates jealousy. People see their own struggle in your work.
Yeah.
The real power is in the mystery.
So revealing the trick just diminishes the magic.
Precisely. Look at Harry Houdini. His rivals were always trying to expose his genius as just being, mechanical tricks.
I remember the story with his rival Clapini.
Yes. Houdini accepted the challenge, used Clapini's own equipment, and escaped. And he let the speculation run wild. Was he psychic? Double-jointed. He never admitted the work involved. He wanted it to seem like transcendent genius, not just practice.
That is the ultimate control of perception. Okay, let's shift to our second big theme, the calculus of relationships. This starts with a very cynical one, Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies.
It's cynical, but it's born from historical observation. Friends, because they're close to you, are very easily led to envy, and they'll often hide their true motives to avoid an argument.
Which makes their betrayal harder to see coming.
Much harder. So competence becomes more critical than affection.
And the case of the Byzantine Emperor Michael III really illustrates this.
A fatal error. He needed a competent advisor. He had one, the General Bardas. But instead, he chose his less qualified childhood friend, Basilius.
And what was the result of picking friendship over skill?
Basilius gets to court, sees all the splendor, and immediately becomes ambitious. He convinces Michael that Bardas, the competent one, is disloyal.
So based on his friend's advice,
Michael has Bardas murdered, and Basilius smoothly steps into his place, consolidating all the power.
and Michael's reward for trusting his friend.
Basilius eventually usurped Michael himself. The lesson is that competence, even from a former enemy, is predictable. Friendship can hide a very dangerous and unpredictable envy.
A compelling argument, for sure. This idea of value leads right into Law 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. Your independence comes from being needed.
The principle is basically never teach people enough so that they can do without you. Your value has to be continuous. If your usefulness ends,
Your life might follow.
it just might.
The story of the condottiere, the mercenary who saved the town of Siena, is a chilling example of this.
Horrifying. He saved the town. But the citizens couldn't really repay him, and now that the conflict was over, his military skill made him a threat. They had two options.
And their solution was brutal.
Let us kill him and then worship him as our patron saint. Once he was no longer useful, his life was forfeit. He was disposable.
So how do you flip that? How do you make yourself necessary in a non-military way?
The perfect contrast is the story of Louis XI's astrologer. The king was suspicious, threatened to execute him.
And the astrologer didn't beg for his life.
No. He made a prophecy. He said he would die exactly 3 days before the king himself.
Huh. So Louis immediately spared him.
Spared him, lavished him with gifts, protected him fiercely. Because the king didn't dare find out if his own survival was now tied to the astrologer's life.
He engineered dependence through superstition.
Yeah, incredible.
Okay, to round this out, Law 12. Use selective honesty and generosity. Using honesty as a trap feels so counterintuitive.
Well, one timely act of honesty can disarm a cynical person far more effectively than a lifetime of predictable behavior. A strategic, unexpected moment of virtue can be a powerful weapon.
This is the Count Lustig and Al Capone story.
It's perfect. Lustig, a famous con man, promised Capone he'd double the $50,000 investment. 2 months later, he comes back.
But without the money.
He returns the original $50,000, apologizing for his failure. Now, you have to think about Capone. He's one of the most cynical men alive. He expected double his money or nothing at all.
He did not expect an apology and his original investment back.
It completely disarmed him. This single selective act of honesty made Capone see him as a man of integrity. He called him honest and gave him $5,000 back as a gift just to help him along.
Lustig played on his expectations and broke the pattern. That's astonishing. Let's move to our final theme, mastering action and timing.
And the prerequisite for all of this is strategic foresight. You have to be like the Roman god Janus, always looking to the past and the future at once. The motto is, no days unalert.
Constantly calculating possibilities, potential pitfalls. The further you can see, the more powerful you are.
And when it's time to act, you need efficiency. This brings us back to Law 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. We call this the vulture strategy.
Why wear yourself out when others have already done the heavy lifting?
Exactly. You conserve your own energy, you pounce on the work they've completed, and you find a way to claim it as your own innovation.
This applies to intellectual work, too. I'm thinking of Isaac Newton saying he was standing on the shoulders of giants.
He understood it perfectly. His discoveries were built on centuries of work by others. By using that cumulative wisdom, he enhanced his own genius without doing all the foundational work himself.
So that's using existing capital. But for action in the moment, you need surprise. Law 17. Cultivate an air of unpredictability.
Routine is fatal. Predictability lets your enemies anticipate your moves. But deliberate unpredictability keeps them constantly off balance. It confuses them, it intimidates them, it can even terrorize them.
We see this with Filippo Maria, the Duke of Milan. He was famous for his inconsistency.
He'd shower a courtier with gifts, making the person expect a huge promotion. Then, just as they got comfortable, he'd ignore them for weeks.
Or someone like Picasso with his art dealers.
Right, he would just abruptly change the terms of an agreement, forcing them to wear themselves out, just trying to figure out why. That mental exhaustion is a weapon. It makes them yield control.
The modern example has to be Muhammad Ali's rope-a-dope against George Foreman.
A perfect one. Everyone, especially Foreman, expected Ali to dance, to be a moving target.
But he did the exact opposite. He went right up against the ropes and let Foreman just punch himself out.
It totally destroyed Foreman's strategy. He'd trained for a fight that wasn't happening. Foreman lost his bearings and just gave in to the shock of the unexpected.
The final strategy for action is Law 39. Stir up waters to catch fish. If your opponent is still in planning, you have to force them into a rash move.
You have to play on their uncontrollable emotions, their pride, their vanity. Once the water is stirred up, the fish can't help but rise to the surface and expose themselves by taking the bait too early.
And Haile Selassie used this brilliantly against his rival, Ras Gugsa. He knew Gugsa was plotting a revolt.
But he couldn't just wait for Gugsa to be ready. So instead of waiting, Selassie issued a direct public order. He commanded Gugsa to attack a rebellious tribe.
Which forced Gugsa's hand before he was ready for his real goal.
Exactly. It forced him into action on Selassie's terms. Gugsa had to fight prematurely, the internal revolt fizzled, and Selassie used the entire situation to destroy his last rivals. He stole the initiative completely.
So we've covered these three huge areas: perception, relationships, and action. And it feels like the true power that connects them all is objectivity, the ability to step back and analyze without emotion.
And if you connect all of that to the final, ultimate lesson, you get to Law 48, assume formlessness. Stability and protection might seem safe, but anything locked into a rigid system will eventually fall.
Why is being rigid so fatal?
Because the world isn't rigid, it's dynamic. Look at the Spartans. They built this incredibly rigid military state, a strong, unbending shell.
And it worked for centuries.
It brought them stability, yes. But when the world changed, their inability to adapt, to flow with new threats, was their undoing. They sacrificed adaptability for fixed stability.
So real power is fluid. It's adaptive, never presenting a fixed target. That formlessness is the ultimate defense.
It's the ability to maintain that vital energy of change.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? If success and security lead to complacency, to predictable habits like Louis XV, or even the writer Tennessee Williams who said he needed struggle to regain his vital energy, how can you maintain that flexible, adaptive energy of reinvention? How do you ensure you are always a fluid force and not just a rigid, waiting target? Something to ponder until our next deep dive.